So what are your thoughts? I really want to quickly just talk about what are your thoughts on Force of Will being printed into Modern?
I've actually thought for quite a while Force of Will in Modern would be fine.
Yep.
I think honestly, there's an argument in some cases that Force of Negation would still be better, because hard casting Force of Will for 5 in Modern is like something that you often will never, ever, ever do.
Sure.
But you can actually hard cast a Force of Negation.
I've hard casted 3 mana counter spells in Modern.
Yeah, plenty of times.
Don't love when it happens, but
now there is a power level of the format that's high enough that does use blue cards. That does get me a little worried. Like, I don't love the idea of a deck like Wurza just having Force of Will in it just to have it. Like, you can just throw away this extra Whir of Invention that you don't need anymore to just not lose and combo off, or throw away this Thopter Foundry. It's just like easy, just win the game. And that's a little worrying, but also Force of Negation pretty much allows you to do that anyway.
I think one of the things that makes it less problematic is because Wizard has been so thorough, like destroying most blue cantrips in the format. You don't have the Force of Will Brainstorm combo that can become problematic. You also I think one of Modern's problems has been, at least this last 2 years, is that so many of the decks are on rails and there's no good answer to everything. And Force of Will is that, right? Like, that's what it is in Legacy. The reason Legacy functions is because no matter what, there's always a possibility for a deck to play Force of Will with control cards, and therefore, no matter what degenerate thing you're doing, they're able to be like, no, wait, stop. I don't care if it's turn 2. I don't care if it's turn 0. I don't care if it's turn 5. I can, at worst case scenario, always be like, no, stop storming off. Don't get Emrakul into play on turn 3.
It's still, my argument used to be that Modern's power level was significantly lower than Legacy, and there wasn't like these turn 0, turn 1, turn 2 wins with such consistency. Legacy felt like it had, and Modern didn't. But nowadays, it actually doesn't feel like the formats are that different. It feels like the formats are about a turn different, maybe. Like, Modern can win very early, very quickly. And so I used to say, because Modern was a format that felt a little more fair, the card disadvantage from a card like Force of Will was damning enough that if you did it and you'd be down cards, you'd still probably lose. I don't know how true that is anymore. And I think
Modern still, even if you look at the Urza decks or the Wurza decks, a lot of them now are just mid-range Hate Bears decks that are comboing. They're not even comboing anymore, right? They're just like, I have a bunch of value engines, and putting decks that are value engines down a card can often be the difference between winning and losing. And if they have to discard their Wurza, that puts them behind, right? Like, that puts them really behind. I think that the other space, someone on the chat just mentioned this, that doing the Force of Negation ruling on Force of Will, like just printing a new card that is Force of Will but has the only on your turn effect.
Yeah, right.
So you don't have if it's your turn, you can protect your combo and you're going off effect to it, and it just can hit creatures and planeswalkers and instants and sorceries, but just like more of a stop your opponent card versus a protect my combo card, then I think that card could easily be printed in the Modern.
Totally, because I start thinking about the things in Modern that you would do, on your turn, that having that Force of Will backup would change the game on. And it does get me a little concerned. I don't think like in a crazy, crazy way, but it doesn't feel like I want to put people in that position where, like an infect kill kind of a thing, where you just, it's like the power that you can just protect your combo by discarding this blue card or exiling it. Now you just win the game out of nowhere. That doesn't, I think, make Modern that much more fun. The format's already pretty powerful, pretty fast.
Well, but at the same time, then the people opposed to them have a way to stop that to some extent. And now with Teferi in the world, Force of Will kind of doesn't do, like, with Teferi, the 3-mana one, like, fighting against Force of Will is that much easier for decks if they need to.
Yeah, okay, so there are...
It makes those decks better. So, yeah, you go back and forth.
There are things, too. Like, for instance, if you are a blue deck and they get a God Start with their sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? If they get their God Start with Amulet, and they play their Primeval Titan, and your Force of Negation does absolutely nothing, that's not a very good feeling. Right. Your Force of Will protects you there. And that's the kind of thing. When they resolve Karn, you can stop it. When they resolve Wormcoil, you can't. I don't like Force of Negation is really good, but Force of Will costing 5, I think if you were to template the way you're talking about, it's probably fine. Yeah. I don't really think there's any issue with that. And the real question is, yes or no, should regular Force of Will just be reprinted into Modern? Yes or no?
I think I'm on board with yes. I think I would rather what we've described, but if I had to choose between no Force of Will or Force of Will and this other idea doesn't exist, then I'm for yes, it should be.
Last question, Days. What about Days in Modern?
I think Days shouldn't be printed in the Modern. I think that card is almost exclusively used for like tempo-y negative effects to keep people off of doing things. I think Force of Will and the cost of it is so much less. it doesn't matter that I have to return an island to my hand. Even if it costs me 2 life in Modern because you're using Shocklands, discarding a card and losing a life is a much more real negative effect.
How much better does Merfolk get if Daze is in Modern?
It gets good. I don't think the problems Merfolk is facing now is necessarily solved by Daze, because I don't think Merfolk's inability to interact is its issue. I think the fact that it's a turn or 2 turns slower than other decks and doesn't gain value the way that other decks do to get to the late game if it needs to get there.